All right, guys. Our next guest is a man of many, many talents. He is the number one ranked UFC middleweight, a former UFC and Strikeforce champion, a skater, a surfer, a model, and now an entrepreneur. And he'll also be taking on Ronaldo Jacare Souza here in Melbourne, Australia on November 27th. Luke Rockhold, welcome back to Submission Radio. It's been a while. How's it going today?
It's going well. Got some jiu-jitsu day in. Now I'm cooking a little lunch, and I'm going to go back at it tonight with some drills, some boxing stuff.
Cooking a bit of a lunch. Well, I'm very excited to hear this, Luke. You know me and Casper, we like to eat. So tell us what's on the official menu for Luke Rockhold this afternoon.
This afternoon, we're having a little salmon salad and some sweet potato.
Oh, wow. And you're cooking this all by yourself?
I tend to cook a lot of my meals in training camp. That's when I get inspired to cook, because I know I can cook with the right stuff and make it tasty. So,
and are you watching those cooking shows? Like, sometimes one of my favorite things to do is when I'm dieting, I just like to watch cooking shows. I like to watch them create things. Are you one of those people? You watch a few cooking shows, see a few recipe books, and save up a few fun ideas for lunchtime?
You know what I like? I've been getting into. I just watched Chef's Table the other night. Netflix has got some heaters. That's where you want to go get your cooking stuff on.
Yeah.
I'm inquiring if this touches base to Melbourne and the someone at Attica, trying to get a reservation for the week before I get out there.
Oh wow, that will be amazing.
Maybe we can work some out.
Maybe, yeah. Definitely not with us, because we're not welcome in Attica anymore after the last time. But you'll enjoy your meal.
Last time we went to Attica.
Yeah,
it was supposedly the number one restaurant in Australia, but I'm looking forward to that. I'm always down for a good meal. Plus, I'm going to be in a week early, so I need to get a good meal in. Wouldn't be a bad spot.
Yeah, I mean, you've obviously got weight to make, so be careful with that week, because a lot can happen. All of the great food in Melbourne. Just wondering, when you were here a few weeks ago, you put up a picture on Instagram of some street art and the caption "Restaurant hunting in Melbourne is real." What did you mean by that? Because you seem like a big foodie, Luke.
I just like the style of all Australia. I mean, even in Sydney, you find those done kind of. Go down a back alley and you find the nicest restaurant in town. They're just cool little avenues that you don't have in the States. Everything's so up front, and it's all about the most proper placement and the front row center spot with the beautiful entrance, and out there it's a different feel. I like it.
You go down the other back alley and you find something else. Now let's talk about Australia, because it's a bloody long way away from the States. Well, me and Casper, we've lived here for a while, so we know where all the alleys are. What was your reaction like when you heard that you'd be fighting down here again? And was a part of you hoping that you'd be taking a much shorter flight to New York instead?
No, I was excited. I like fighting out in Australia. The good energy, and I don't got to wait around all day. I just get to wake up in the morning and go fight in the afternoon, rather than having to fight at midnight anywhere else, really. I'm happy to have a 5-round fight. New York would have been cool. It was a good stage, but a 3-round fight just doesn't tell the true tale of who the better fighter is. There's too much risk involved in, and if I'm going to fight one of the top guys, it's going to be in the main event. It's going to be in a 5-round fight.
We'll sort of talk about how this fight came together. Were you originally offered New York at one point, because you did get a previous offer? Were you offered UFC 205?
Yes, I was. I was offered 205 and Yoel Romero, and I said, give me Yoel in 5 rounds. And they came back somehow with Jacare. I'm not sure how that well worked out. But I said, I'm not, if I'm going to fight one of these guys, if any of them really, especially Yoel, the guy gets worse by the minute. By the second, I'm not going to do it in a 3-round fight with any of these guys, really. It's just, like I said, you have to rush the fight, and then you rely on, you lose a takedown, you rely on the judges and pushing it. It's just, a 5-round fight is a true fighter's fight.
Yeah, certainly. And it's going to be, like you mentioned, in the main event, in a place where in Australia we fought before, but Melbourne, a different ballpark and a different place, a new adventure. Let's talk about the delay in you sort of deciding on this fight. We all know there were a few issues with contracts, and you were public about the fact that you weren't happy with the first offer that you were given. I mean, it just seems like right now in MMA, a lot of people are seeing that there's a few options. We saw Chael Sonnen. He shocked everyone by going over to Bellator and allegedly signing his biggest contract ever. Do you like this idea that fighters like you have set up this, I guess, environment where other fighters are realizing, hey, the UFC isn't the only option, and if I don't like my offer, I can reject it, or I can maybe even go somewhere else?
There's another league. They have good money. That is an option for some people. For me, it's got to make sense. Dollars make sense, and so if the dollars aren't up to par, then what's the point? For me, I've put my time in this sport. I think I've earned my reputation, and I have a leg to stand on. When I fucking make a demand like that, my contract I had done up early on, and I was informed that I'd be taken care of if I held up my part of the bargain. I think signing that contract before Machida, beating a champion in Machida, and decisively putting him away, and putting away Chris Weidman, making a hiccup in Bisping shouldn't set me back to where I was. And I had told him how I felt about it, and so we moved in a better direction. But I think we're still, I think there's still a lot of improvement.
Just wondering, are you surprised that this sort of got, let's not say sorted, because obviously you want to improve on certain things, but are you surprised the UFC came back to you so quickly? Because we've seen in the past where some fighters, they say, I don't like the contract. Al Iaquinta is a good example where he didn't like the contract, now he's off the card. Were you surprised that this somewhat got squared off pretty quickly?
They're going to play hardball with some people. Some people don't have a leg to stand on, I guess, surprisingly enough. So I know Weidman had his own issues too. A lot of people kind of followed in suit, I guess, after what I did. Didn't work out for some of them. So it just, I think it depends on knowing, what your worth is, knowing what you're capable of, and how far you can push.
Mm-hmm. You've spoken about it in a couple of interviews about the fact that, okay, you're happy sort of with the deal that you got now for UFC Melbourne, but after this, you may want to renegotiate again and get a better deal once again. Is that the case, or are you happy just to stay on this new deal that the UFC provided you, of course, depending if you don't become champion again in your next fight?
It all depends on who I fight and what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I beat Jacare if that title fight isn't waiting for me at my doorstep. I'm sure we'll talk.
Is that something that you expect? Because when you were in Melbourne a few weeks ago, you talked about how if you beat Jacare, that's probably the biggest message that anybody can send in the division. Would you expect that would be next for you? Obviously, a title fight. And if it wasn't, how would you sort of react?
I expect that's going to happen. I don't expect anything else. I've already beaten everybody else. Beaten Bisping. I've beaten Weidman. I've beaten Jacare. And, I don't think I could decisively beat Weidman any better, really. And then Jacare, of course, we had a tough fight, but I go out there and put him away like I believe I'll do. I don't think there's anything left to say.
Mm-mm. Well, let's talk about this fight with Jacare. I mean, people are really excited down here in Melbourne, and we're so happy to have you on this card. It's really made the card special for a lot of people here. And Rod Laver Arena, by the way, for a lot of our international listeners, isn't Madison Square Garden, but to us, it's a very, very special place where a lot of great history-making moments happen. So we're very excited to have you headlining the first card here in Melbourne in Rod Laver Arena. After your loss to Bisping, what kind of changes and adjustments have you been making in training in preparation for this fight? And was it a case of correcting technique, or was it more of making mental adjustments so you've got the right mindset on fight night?
There's a little bit of everything, of course. I think the mental game is the key to this whole process, is not taking my opponent for granted, overstepping my boundaries, and entering a fight, without my biggest weapon. You can't do certain things in this game, and you got to respect to fight game, you got to respect your opponent, and so that's the biggest key right there, is just focusing on the basics really, and going in there and fighting with everything I got. Other than that, of course, there's some cleanup I need to do. I was a little careless in some areas and got away with some things, and so it's really just about being sharp, being reserved, playing my distance, and picking guys apart. And that's when I do that, none of these fools can compete.
Well, I mean, just mentioning Bisping, got to ask you, what did you think of his fight at UFC 204 against Dan Henderson last weekend?
Man, Dan surprised me. Dan came out of the gate hot, hung in there for the whole game, put Bisping down. I didn't see the whole fight. Tell you the truth, I was at a wedding and the Wi-Fi was pretty bad, and so it was in and out. It actually cut out like right after the first knockdown, and I missed the whole second round. So
oh wow,
I missed quite a bit of it. So I got to go back and watch it. But I don't know. Bisping's a tough bastard. He'll hang in there and point fight his way to the end. So it was a close fight. I don't know. I don't know what else to say really. Bisping did his thing at the end, ran his mouth, and seems like he's running from quite a few of us, all the top guys, really trying to make this run and stretch this out as long as he can. Talking GSP and talking to all these other guys, it's, legitimize yourself and fight one of us.
Yeah, that's interesting that you mentioned that. And by the way, we'll have to get your thoughts on the fight if you get a chance to rewatch it when we catch up with you in Melbourne when your fight goes down. But you mentioned this GSP fight, and I wanted to really ask you about this. I mean, you said that he's sort of trying to run from top competitors, but what did you think when you saw him sort of campaigning for that GSP fight before this UFC 204 fight went down? What went through your head when you saw him do that?
It just sounds like he's bitching out from wanting to fight the guys, from the top guys. I don't know. He's trying to run into any situation that seems it's going to be more favorable for him. I always thought the guy was tougher than he seems to be putting off now. I think he's just kind of, once he's got it, I mean, it's easy to go fight. It's easy to go fight when you got nothing to lose. When you got something to lose, that shows, your true manhood. And now he's got something. Now he's running scared. So man up and fight the top dudes.
Are you glad that he won, though? I mean, obviously, Dan was your friend, and you spoke about how you'd be happy to see him get that, UFC title at the very end of his career, and it'd be a Cinderella story. But are you glad that Bisping's champion? Because now, assuming all goes well against Jacare, you've got that opportunity to settle the score and have that trilogy fight with Bisping?
As a friend, I was excited for Dan. I was pulling for him. 100%. I was on Dan's team for that one. Obviously, marketing side of things, you see, it's definitely beneficial that he's still on top for me. So that's the situation.
Well, he also spoke about how he believes he exposed your chin and that Jacare will knock you out. Even though you've said multiple times that you moved from UFC 199, does that rekindle that fire a little bit and give you extra motivation to beat Jacare, climb your way back up to a title shot against him, and potentially accomplish your goal of shutting him up?
I don't need him to talk anymore. I don't need any extra motivation. I know what I need to do and what I want, and I'm focused on Jacare, and then I will follow up with that one soon enough. I will finish this.
All right, well, you and Jacare, obviously a rematch that people have wanted to see for many years now. The first fight at Strikeforce was a great war. You guys don't have the same heated rivalry that obviously you and Bisping have. Just wondering, how would you describe your relationship with Jacare these days? Have you had much interaction with him over the years?
I think anytime you share the ring with a guy for 5 rounds and that close of a duel, you gain a respect for somebody. But as the fights get closer, you start to feel the pressure and you start to get up off your ass, when you don't want to, because this guy's trying to take it from you. So I'm starting to dislike Jacare by the second, by the day, by the week.
Yeah, but by the delicious gourmet lunch. Jacare spoke recently about how he believes that you're scared and that there's pressure on you to prove that you won the first fight. Do you feel like you need to prove anything regarding the first fight in Strikeforce?
I don't need to prove nothing. I've staked my claim in this game, and I will People question you, of course, and they look at you. It's a very short memories in the sport. I've done a lot, and I have a lot more to do. So it doesn't matter what Jacare wants to run his mouth. I mean, he's got just as much to prove. So it's unfortunate for Jacare, really. It is, because he's earned a title shot, and he's earned his way to the top. But unfortunately, I'm the man in his way that's going to stop him from that once again. And I'm going to take it from him. I'm going to go get my belt back, and he's going to go back to the line.
That first fight, great fight. You beat Jacare after spending almost 19 months on the sidelines. How much, if at all, was that a factor on that night? And how much of a benefit do you think it'll be coming off, a much fresher version of yourself, only a 5-month turnaround time? And sort of how much do you think you've evolved as a fighter since that fight?
I think there's a lot that went into that fight. A lot of nerves, and I was a kid. I was a kid when I fought Jacare, and he was in his prime, and so I've come a lot further than he has. I've grown technically. I went into that fight, like you said, 19 months off the shelf. My shoulder wasn't even healed, and then I put it on him, and I took that belt from him. So I'm much more prepared for this fight. I don't think Jacare is the same fighter I went up against, and I'm gonna break him down. He's still tough. He's still in there, but I've come a long, long ways, and he's soon to find out that we're a little different these days.
Last couple of questions, Luke. Really appreciate your time, and then we'll let you get to your lunch. We don't like to see food go cold. He talked about how this time your friends, the judges, won't be there. Obviously, he's an incredibly tough challenge, but is there any extra incentive for you to finish the fight and eliminate the judges so that there's no disputing who wins this fight?
That's why I requested a 5-round fight. I want time to finish any fight that I step in with. I don't want Jacare to think you want to fight. That's the only one that's really I've had in my career where I've been decision, and the guy even think that he got the better of me. So I'm ready. I'm just going to be reserved. I'm going to pick my shots, and I'm going to put them. I believe I'm going to put them away. I'm seeing a 3rd, 4th, potentially 5th round finish. I know he's tough, but I know what I'm capable of.
Well, there you go. UFC Fight Night 101. It's going to be happening on November 27th. I mean, assuming everything goes to plan, all goes well, Luke, you've said what you wanted. You expect that title shot on your doorstep. What's the ideal scenario for you? I mean, is there a time frame? Is there a place where you would ideally be fighting for the title? Obviously, Bisping fought in his hometown of Manchester against Dan Henderson. Is there anything like that you'd like? Maybe something near San Jose. What would you like?
I don't give a fuck. I'll fight the next week. I'll be ready to go right off the bat. Given I come out healthy, I'm looking to go straight into that next fight.
There you go. You have to be careful about what you say, Luke. You may end up fighting at 5 a.m. in Manchester if you don't play your cards right. But guys, make sure to follow.
There'd be nothing sweeter than going back to Manchester and 5 o'clock in his ass.
That's right. And then you can go find a nice restaurant down at the back alley at 7 a.m. But guys, make sure to follow Luke on Twitter at Luke Rockhold and Instagram. There's a lot of great stuff happening. UFC Fight Night 101, November 27th at the iconic Rod Laver Arena here in Melbourne. Luke, thank you so much for your time. And we look forward to seeing you down here in our hometown of Melbourne, making history at Rod Laver Arena.
Look forward to it. I'll see you guys soon.